Hi guys, and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron, and welcome back today to another live stream. It is the live game review to Everton's 1-0 victory over West Bromwich Albion last night at the Hawthorns. Carlo Ancelotti's Everton gaining another away victory, third win on the bounce, third clean sheet on the bounce as well for Jordan Pickford. He had a pivotal part to play in last night's win, and Everton moved into fourth, albeit only for an hour or so until Chelsea beat Liverpool at Anfield, but we're still in and around that fight for Champions League football, and it was a really, really important win last night. It was a massive, massive win, in fact, and the title of this live stream is "Those are the games we have to win," and we did. And the reason in which I say that is because, you know, for large parts of that game, certainly in the first half, it did have sort of it did feel a little bit like the Fulham game at Goodison Park a couple of weeks ago. It did feel a little bit like the Newcastle game not so long back, Leeds at home, etc, etc. There's a plethora of games that we could talk about this season where Everton have expected to turn up and win, and we just haven't turned up whatsoever. We've been played off the park by the opposition, and we've ended up losing or only taking a point. And those are the games that will worry at the end of the season. We'll all be sitting there saying that's the game that cost us top four, or they're the games that have cost us European football. Well, it was absolutely vital yesterday that even though we didn't play very well, even though it wasn't the greatest game of football, we still come out with the 3 points. And it was very similar to Monday's performance in that matter, is that it wasn't a great game. It's not one that we're going to be sitting here and talking about for years and years to come and months to come, but it doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, in both of those games, we come out with the win, and that's all that matters. Like I said at the start of the week, this week for me is one of the biggest weeks in the season, in the context of the season. We played Southampton, who we should have been comfortably beaten because they haven't been on great form. Okay, it mightn't have been very comfortable, but we still won the game. And we were playing West Brom, who were towards the bottom end of the table, away from home, and our away form being great. Again, wasn't massively comfortable, but we still got the job done and beat West Brom. And now we play, Chelsea, with a side that are directly above us away from home on Monday, with a big chance to gain, points on those sides. And if we do manage to go away to Chelsea and win, which it wouldn't put it past me whatsoever. I mean, we've been to Anfield and won this season. We've been to Spurs and won both grounds. We haven't won in over a decade. So if we do go to Stamford Bridge and get the 3 points, then I think we might all be sitting here starting to believe that this team could achieve something very, very special today. But there's no point in going to Stamford Bridge and getting the win if we were going to lose to West Brom yesterday and Southampton on Monday, and we didn't. Of course, we got the win, which was absolutely fantastic. Like I said, very, very good result last night. Not the greatest performance whatsoever, not the greatest game of football to watch, was it? Let's be honest. I think we were all sort of surprised by West Brom a little bit. I think I felt, along with probably most Blues and probably most of the players, to be honest, that West Brom had come out and just sit back for 90 plus minutes and just defend and hope that we didn't have the quality to hit them on the attack. But they didn't. They actually come out and they changed it up a little bit. And I had a comment on one of the, I think it was the preview, or it might have been on Twitter before the game, saying, Cam, don't expect West Brom to just sit back and allow us 90% of the ball and allow us to come at them. I think that this comment said, I think that Sam Allardyce will turn up and shock us. I think he'll try and play football, he'll try and get at us, he'll try and, break us down. And that's exactly what they did. Okay, they didn't have as much possession as we did, but within the first 15 or 20 minutes, they had more shots than Everton did. They were getting forward a lot more. They looked a lot more threatening on the attack. And okay, whilst we could still sit there and say these haven't got that much quality going forward, it only takes one moment, and they had one moment in the opening 5 minutes, and Jordan Pickford pulls out another game-winning save for me. I sat here on Tuesday afternoon and I said, Jordan Pickford and Richarlison have won us that game against Southampton. I'm sitting here and it's pretty much carbon copy, on Friday morning, is to state that Jordan Pickford and Richarlison have won us that game again last night, because that save in the opening 5 minutes is absolutely massive. Because if West Brom go 1-0 up in, with 5 minutes, we've seen from first-hand as Evertonians over the last couple of games what an early goal can do to you. It can give you that boost in confidence. You've got a lead to defend. We went 1-0 up early on against Liverpool, and we went on to win that game. 1-0 up early on against Southampton and went on to win that game. So the last thing we needed was West Brom to go and get an early goal, because they then probably would have put 11 men behind the ball, and it would have been extremely, extremely difficult for Everton to get anything out of that game whatsoever. But Jordan Pickford pulls up with an absolutely exceptional save. I've actually watched it about 4 or 5 times on replay, and it looks like it's going right in the back of the net, and because he goes with, I think, his left hand, and the ball, his left hand's nowhere near the ball, and it's still, when I watch the replay, I think that's in, and then all of a sudden his right hand comes from nowhere, and he tips it past the post, and that was within 3 or 4 minutes of the game, and in typical Everton fashion, I thought we'd gotten rid of that sort of that little bit of complacency at the start of games where we don't really wake up and we don't turn up until 10 or 15 minutes in, and we had gotten rid of that. We were straight off the mark against Liverpool in the opening couple of minutes, straight off the mark against Southampton, but again last night it was a little bit like those games earlier on in the season where we were coming out, specifically West Brom. I mean, we conceded at Goodison Park against West Brom within the opening sort of 10 minutes, didn't we? And it felt a little bit like that, like we hadn't woken up, we weren't ready for it, and, they threw an easy ball in, the lad was completely unmarked, I think it was Keane, and Holgate just left him for a free header, and it takes a world-class save to keep it at 0-0, and the first half for me wasn't great viewing whatsoever. It really, really wasn't. Obviously, Carlo Ancelotti chose his side at 5 o'clock last night, and there was still no James Rodriguez. He was still out with an injury. There was still no Tom Davis. He was still missing. Still no Seamus Coleman as well. Robin Olsen also missed out. So, whereas Carlo had his press conference, earlier on in the week, and spoke about the possibility that the likes of Tom Davis and James Rodriguez could return, and the decision to be made on Alan. It was clear last night when the team news was announced that none of those players that missed out to the Southampton game through injury were going to be available, and Alan was obviously not ready to start after playing a difficult 90 minutes on Monday night, which was I suppose understandable, and I don't think anybody was massively surprised by that. But then you looked at the side that he'd put out, and for me, again, it was a good enough side to go out and comfortably win the game. It was a good enough side to outplay West Brom, but it was more, the position in which certain players were playing. And Andre Gomez playing in that Alan role for me just doesn't work whatsoever. He can't play the Alan role. He's not a number 6, Andre Gomez. He is what he was when he come to Everton, and that's a number 8. He's a nice player in the middle of the park who can hold the ball up at times. He's a luxury player. He's not going to give you 6 assists and 6 goals a season, but if he's in the middle of the park, generally he'll be half decent. He'll play a nice couple of passes. He'll get people involved in the game. But when you play Andre Gomez directly in front of that back line as that sweeping midfielder, that runs around and collects everything and is the sort of the first port of call defensively in terms of when teams are coming at us on the counter attack, it doesn't work whatsoever because he can't do it. He loses the ball too frequently in possession. He gives it away with sloppy passing. He's not quick enough off the ball to go to players. You seen how different we were when Alan come on the pitch, and I said it in the instant match reaction. I don't think it was just particularly because Alan come on. I think it was more the fact that Alan come on, adopted his natural position, and Andre Gomez moved a little bit further forward, and the system changed, and we look so much more comfortable with Alan playing in that role than anybody else really. I'd still only say Tom Davis is the only Everton player that can play that Alan role. I'm not going to say as good as Alan because I don't think Tom is as good as Alan, even though he's been fantastic recently. But he's the only other player in that team that can play the Alan role. Let's be honest. Anybody else, if you put Sigurdsson in there, we look a shambles. If you put Gomez in there, we struggle because they can't play in that position because it requires far too much work off the ball, and Gomez can't do it, and it requires far too much composure on the ball, and he loses the ball too often there. But anyway, I don't want to be too negative, obviously, because we ended up winning the game. But like I said, it was a very, very, very dangerous first half. And it was a first half that, like I said, was so reminiscent of the game against Fulham, so reminiscent of the game against Newcastle, where we're sitting there thinking, how aren't we controlling this game? Not only are we sort of, not controlling it, not only are we not having a great day, but we're making West Brom look absolutely excellent. We're giving them time and space on the ball. They were playing, a nice couple of combination passes and getting in the right areas and threatening us. Ultimately, like I said, in the opening 5 minutes, they have a header, which, if Jordan doesn't pull out an exceptional save, it goes into the back of the net. So we needed to wake up, and ultimately, that wake-up call for me was the substitutions yesterday that Carlo Ancelotti made. I thought the substitutions were fantastic. The decision to bring on Gylfi Sigurdsson was needed because Gylfi's quality was absolutely needed in that game, and obviously the decision to bring on Alan and change the system was what changed the game for me. But let's talk about the first half then in a little bit more detail, because I do think it's important to go into it. Before we get into it, massive thank you for everybody watching live. Really, really do appreciate it. If you are enjoying so far, please do hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel channel if you're new as well. If you could share the stream on social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all of that good stuff, it would mean an absolutely massive amount to me. Don't forget as well to check out the Football News 365 app. Absolutely fantastic app. Keeps you up to date with all your latest Everton news, scores, updates, stats, results, fixtures, all of that good stuff. So check that out, Jordan, via the link in the description. Sorry, if you download it through that link, it helps out the channel as well. Ran by a Blue as well, so it's a fantastic app, the Football News 365 app. But yeah, like I said, within the first 5 or 6 minutes, Everton have the first scare of the evening, and of course Jordan Pickford into action, and just like he saved us in the last 5 minutes of the Southampton game on Monday night with the Vestergaard save, he saved us again in the opening 5 minutes of this one. For me, it's an exceptional save, and don't get me wrong, I think overall Jordan, I think he had a decent game yesterday, to be perfectly honest with you. There was a couple of times where he maybe flapped the corners, or maybe he didn't look as composed as we would like, but ultimately, how critical can you be on a lad that's literally pulled out a save that stopped us going 1-0 down in the opening 10 minutes? And I think that would have been extremely difficult to get back into that game, even get a point out of that game if we'd have gone 1-0 down, because we know if there's anything that Sam Allardyce does brilliantly, it's just defend, and ultimately if you go 1-0 down early on to a West Brom team, it's going to be very difficult to break them down there. But, Jordan pulls out with an exceptional save again. Third clean sheet on the bounce for Jordan Pickford. Third really good performance on the bounce as well. I think it's about time we start talking about Jordan Pickford in a positive light now, because I understand that there was a lot of people after the Merseyside derby who said, look, let's not get too ahead of ourselves. He's had a great game today, but let's see if he can continue that form. Let's see if this can be, a consistent pattern rather than just a one-off game. And again, he stepped up on Monday against Southampton. Distribution was fine. Didn't have an awful lot to do, but when he was called upon in the last 5 minutes, he made the save that won us the game. And again, yesterday, it didn't have an awful lot to do in regards to West Brom's efforts and shots on target, but when he was called upon in the opening 5 minutes, he was the only Everton player awake, to be honest with you, because none of the back line were awake, none of the midfield were awake. I think it was Gomez who gave it away to, I think it might have been Ainsley Maitland-Niles. He throws the ball, and the defence are just completely sleeping. Michael Keane and Mason Holgate may as well have just been sat in the stands eating a butty, because the lad, is it Diagne? I still don't know how to pronounce it. Gets in between the both of them, heads it, and like I said, Jordan Pickford's the only, I was going to say player in blue, but he was wearing pink, wasn't he? It was awake to it, and he makes an exceptional save, and it was a massive wake-up call for Everton at that point, and you were sort of hoping, right, go out now and wake up, get into the game, console the game, take the game by the scruff of the neck. And for as much as we had more possession than West Brom did, we didn't take the game by the scruff of the neck, did we, really? We were sloppy in possession, we were giving the ball away easily, either that or we were getting caught. Every time it was going forward, we were wasteful. That's one thing that massively frustrated me about last night's performance is, we can sit here all day and talk about how we allowed them too much space, and we allowed them too much respect to come forward and to have efforts on goal and to break us down, etc. But for me, arguably the most frustrating thing is the fact that we had chances in that first half. We had loads of space going forward. The amount of times, it must have been 4 or 5 times that Alex Iwobi had the ball at his feet and space to run into, and he just made the complete wrong decision, be it crossing it in waist height and them dealing with it comfortably, or trying to take his man on and just running straight into him, or cutting it back. That's the frustrating thing. If we'd have been completely dominated for the entire half and we wouldn't have had anything going forward, you could say, right, okay, discount the forward play because we've had nothing there. Why are we getting dominated by a side that are second bottom in the Premier League and have been woeful this season? But it wasn't. They give us as much space, arguably, as we give them, and they didn't have the quality to convert on the other end. But neither did we in that first half. Dominic Calvert-Lewin misses a chance, which for me is... Listen, it's disappointing. It really is disappointing. And we will get in the comments in a moment, by the way, and this is a positive live stream, and we will get into the positives of the result and obviously of the win, because it's a massive win, and it's a massive win for the mentality of the club as well, because, maybe 12, 18 months ago, we wouldn't have won this game. We wouldn't have beat Southampton. We certainly wouldn't have beat Liverpool, whereas now we're winning these games of football. Okay, the performances mightn't be great. They mightn't be pretty to watch. They mightn't be fantastic. It mightn't be unbelievable football, but I don't care. As long as we're winning, as long as we're getting those 3 points, I don't care how we play, as long as we carry on winning. And ultimately, if we finish in fourth position at the end of the season and we finish in a Champions League spot and we're all sitting back looking at the Premier League table and Everton are fourth and we're going to be playing Champions League football next season with Carlo Ancelotti, I'm not going to look back and go, yeah, but we were quite poor against West Brom and we weren't really good against Southampton and it was a boring game when we played those teams. I'm going to be looking back going, we won those games and that's what's gotten us into this position. So there's a lot of positives to take out of it, but I'm not just going to skip over the first half and act like everything was was fine and dandy, because it really wasn't. And like I said, we had those chances in the first half to hurt West Brom. We had those chances to, against the run of play, go 1-0 up, and it would have been against the run of play, and it probably would have been not very fair on West Brom, to be honest, if Everton would have gone 1-0 up in the first half. But again, like I said, I don't care. I honestly don't care who it's fair on and who it's not fair on. We needed to go 1-0 up. We needed to get that advantage in the game, and like I said, we were given space, we were given time. One effort where Ben Godfrey runs about 35 yards, completely throughout everybody, as an opportunity. I think his shot's deflected and it goes out for a corner. But again, that showed that West Brom would leave us areas in the middle of the park. They'd leave us space, they'd leave us room to move into. Like I said before, Alex Iwobi had a plethora of occasions where he's got the ball at his feet, and he just, all it needed was a run at a defender. If you're running at a defender in the box, it's going to go one of three ways. You're going to beat him and get a decent ball in, you're going to get fouled and win a penalty, or he's going to put in a brilliant display of defending. And if he puts in a brilliant display of defending, then at least you can say, well, I had a go at him, I ran at him, and I tried to make something happen. But Alex Iwobi just didn't seem to want to do that yesterday. He was putting his foot on the ball, he was stopping it. I don't know. Listen, I think it's a confidence issue, to be honest with you. I really do. I think maybe his confidence is a little bit low at the moment because he hasn't played in a lot of games of football and he has only been coming on in the last sort of 10 or 15 minutes of games. But he had this opportunity yesterday. That was a massive, massive chance, and it was for me, I don't think it was a controversial decision to start Alex Iwobi and Bernard, but I think it was a brave decision by Carlo Ancelotti, because he's got a lad there in Josh King on the bench who we haven't seen start a game for Everton Football Club yet, who's only been coming on in the last 5 or 10 minutes of games, who hasn't really been able to make an impact because of that. And it would have been very, very easy for Carlo to say to Josh King, right, you're going to start today, we're going to give you your first Everton start, go out and make the difference, go out and show us why you deserve a contract in the summer, why you deserve to be here on a permanent deal. But he didn't. He went with Bernard, he went with Alex Iwobi, and it was a big, big chance for Alex Iwobi to impress effectively and to run at West Brom and to make something happen and to take them on and to give them a horrid day at the office. And he didn't. He made it comfortable for them. Every time he got the ball, he didn't want to run at them. He either put his foot on it and threw a wasteful cross in, or he ran into danger and that was in, and it come back the other end. But it wasn't just Alex Iwobi who was wasteful in the first half. I think Abdoulaye Doucouré misplaced a couple of passes in good areas for us, which just invited pressure on. I think Dominic Calvert-Lewin's miss, which we'll talk about in a second. Bernard, I thought, had a relatively okay game. Wasn't massively in it for large parts, but again, was slightly involved. I'm not going to sit here and say he was awful, because I don't think he was awful. I just don't think he was brilliant. There was a couple of times when he was running at players. He seemed to move centrally, Bernard, yesterday, and I didn't know what formation we were playing, to be honest with you. All I knew in that first half was we were playing far too deep. Far too deep. It was pretty much Richarlison and Dominic Calvert-Lewin, and then 35 yards of space, and then everybody else defending. Why we were playing that deep against the side who don't score many goals and who are struggling in the league this season is beyond me. But we were playing far too deep. But like I said, Bernard sort of was moving into that central midfield role, and it was quite evident, I think, that we weren't playing with wide players. Bernard was in the middle, sort of next to your Doucouré and your Gomez. Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison were up front, and Alex Iwobi was just running round practically, which was frustrating. But again, we didn't seem to be able to keep a solid formation, a solid system, a solid like I said, style and system in that first half. Luca Dean was majorly isolated on that left-hand side for large parts of the game. There was times when you're thinking, who's playing next to him, because Bernard had moved into the centre, very similar to Mason Holgate. He was coming up on the right-hand side and there was nobody ahead of him. Everybody was sort of in the middle of the park, and he had nobody to give off to, and nobody was really going wide. And maybe that was the tactic, and maybe that was what Carlo Ancelotti had employed. But like I said, we had those opportunities in the first half. They were giving us that space, they were giving us time to move with the ball, and be it couldn't get it out of our feet or just couldn't make the final ball. I think balls into the box were quite poor yesterday. Luca Dean, I don't think, had as great as the games. Like we mentioned, Alex Iwobi was very wasteful. Decore, I think, in possession, didn't have as great as the games whatsoever. Off the ball, look, he's a monster. He's an absolutely unbelievable footballer. This lad runs round and constantly for the entire 90 minutes and wins the ball and moves us forward. And he's an absolute engine in the middle of the park, and we'd be lost without him. But in terms of his passing, it wasn't great whatsoever yesterday. It wasn't. And yeah, like I said, we had those chances, and none better than the one that fell to Dominic Calvert-Lewin. And look, if Dominic Calvert-Lewin had buried that, I'd have probably been sitting back saying, you know what, we don't deserve that goal lead. West Brom have probably been slightly the better side. They've been, slightly the more attacking side. Let's be honest, even though we've had more possession, they've looked more like, scoring or hating us. But again, another wasted opportunity. Forced to Dominic Calvert-Lewin in the box, 12 yards out, I believe, and I think Jamie Redknapp said at half time that if Dominic Calvert-Lewin had scored that goal, that would have been the furthest goal away from the goal that Dominic Calvert-Lewin has scored this season, 12 yards out. I think the furthest he scored at the moment is 9.5 yards out. And look, again, I want to get all of the negativity in the first half out the way before we go into talking about the positives, because ultimately we are a point away from fourth. We are above them lot who finished 50 points ahead of us last season. We've still got a game in hand. We've gone 3 wins on the bounce, 3 clean sheets on the bounce. There's an awful lot of positives, but let's get the first half out the way first. And that ultimately for me is the I don't want to say issue with Dominic Calvert-Lewin, but it's certainly the part of his game that he needs to work on next, and that he really, really needs to sort of nail down, because, ultimately Dom has absolutely perfected the balls in the air. He's exceptional. There's not many defenders that will win aerial battles against Dominic Calvert-Lewin in the Premier League. He had a tough aerial battle last night against the two centre-halves of West Brom, who were very big and very strong, but again, generally, there's not many defenders that will beat Dominic Calvert-Lewin in the air. When balls are coming into the box, he pretty much wins every header. His leap is unbelievable. He's finding himself in the right space at the right times as well. I'm not particularly one who cares about how many goals you've scored from further out. When Jamie Redknapp said that stat about, Dominic Calvert-Lewin's furthest goal this season is from 9.5 yards out, and that would have been his furthest if he'd have scored it and it was 12 yards out. I wasn't really arsed at the fact that he's only scoring goals from within 10 yards of the area. That didn't bother me, because if Dominic Calvert-Lewin ended the season on 35 goals and Everton finished in a Champions League position, but every goal was a tap-in from 3 yards out, I don't care. They all count as long as you're scoring goals. I don't care if it's 45-yard screamers where you've done a rainbow flick, a Rabona, and you've had a cup of tea halfway through hitting it, or it's bounced off your arse on the post like Richarlison did against City. I don't care how you score, as long as you score in royal blue and we're winning games of football through your goals. So like I said, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, for all I care, could score 35 goals from 5 yards out, and I'd load him like I load him now, and I'd still call him one of the best strikers in the world, because I'm not arsed about how far away you're scoring goals from, because as long as you're scoring, that's all that matters. But the issue I have with you Dom at the moment, and Dom's finishing, and that stat in itself, is that there has been 5, 6, 7 occasions this season where the ball's fallen to Dominic Calvert-Lewin just on the edge of the box, or he's had a one-on-one opportunity with the goalkeeper, or the ball's fell to him 12 yards out and he's panicked and he hasn't been able to convert it. Last night was another prime example. It fell to him, and okay, he was slightly off balance, to be fair to him, and he probably didn't quite expect it, but as a striker, and if Dom, and I honestly think Dom does, and I think he will go on to be one of the best strikers in world football, and Dom's aspiration is to be one of the best strikers in world football, then those opportunities where the ball falls, you have to always expect it, is basically what I'm saying. You can't You can't snap at a shot and go, oh, didn't expect the ball to fall there. If you're in and around that area, you constantly have to expect the ball to fall within your, sensitive space, and you've always got to be first onto that. The best strikers in world football would have buried that chance, and it'd have been, the commentators would have been saying you can't give Dominic Calvert-Lewin that type of chance because he's always going to score. He's clinical in front of goal, and I do think Dom is clinical in front of goal, and we have seen times this season where he's taken that, where he's taken that sort of opportunity, the Man United game away from home being one of them, where he took that opportunity within the last sort of 30 seconds of the game to get us an equaliser. But there also has been times when, the ball's fallen to him, and for me, he should just do absolutely better. He should just do much, much better, and yesterday was one of them. Again, okay, he's off balance, okay, it fell to him, and I'm not going to be too critical of him because I think he worked his bollocks off yesterday, as he has done for the entirety of the season. But for me, he just has to do better in that situation. He has to put that in the back of the net. He has to trouble Sam Johnston a lot more than he did. And that, look, again, that's not a negative thing. If you'd have said to me 4 years ago when Dominic Calvert-Lewin signed for Everton that in 3 years' time you'll be talking about a player who's only one area of his game away from perfecting and he'll be a world-class striker, I'd say you're messing, aren't you? This lad is a long, long way away from being a world-class striker, and that's credit to Dominic Calvert-Lewin. He has got to that point now where he is generally in the conversation for best strikers in the country. He's generally in the conversation for best strikers in Europe. He scores goals. He's a massive threat aerially. He's getting in the right places at the right time. But if he can perfect that part of his game, then I think he'll be absolutely unbelievable. He really, really will, and he will go on to be one of the best strikers in world football if he can perfect that part of his game. But like I said, we had those chances, we had those opportunities, and we just couldn't convert them. We couldn't use the space that we had. We couldn't use the the room that we had with the ball, and we couldn't use the possession. Like I said, we were quite sloppy in possession, and we were wasteful, and all right, West Brom weren't creating an awful lot, and they didn't have the quality going forward, but they still were threatening us, and that was that was always going to be a worry for me. And we go in at half time and you're thinking, right, change it now, change the system a little bit, change the style. A massive team talk's needed, because the last thing we need is for this game to end in a defeat or a draw, and we're all sitting here saying the same thing as we did after the Fulham game. But now we can move on to the positives. The second half for me was much, much better. We changed the system, we looked a lot better going forward, and to be fair, we brought on, Gylfi Sigurdsson, and there's been a lot of critics of Gylfi Sigurdsson this season, and some would say rightfully so, but, I said it yesterday, if you're putting an Everton player, on the edge of the box or on the corner of the the area, and he's got room to put a ball into the box, and it's not James Rodriguez, it's got to be Gylfi Sigurdsson for me. Not many Everton players can swing a ball in like Gylfi Sigurdsson can, and that game was calling for his creativity, and I honestly think if James had been on the pitch from the start, could have been 3 or 4-0 within the opening 20-25 minutes. We had that much space, we had that much time with the ball going forward, and we were just so wasteful with it, whereas you can't help but think if James was there, we wouldn't have been as wasteful. But anyway, before we get into the second half, let's get into the live comments. Massive thanks for everybody for watching us live. If you're enjoying this one, please do hit that like button. It does only take a second. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe as well. Paul says, morning up, your hope all is well with you. Tom's back for Chelsea. Hope Tom's back for Chelsea. Never thought I'd say that. I'm all good, Paul. I'm all good. I hope you're doing well. If everyone's enjoying, by the way, please do hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. Share the stream on social media. Try and get as many people as we can in here. Yeah, I'm good, Paul. And look, again, I think it was another win yesterday. In which we took all 3 points when we didn't have the likes of James Rodriguez, when we didn't have the likes of Tom Davies, who's been excellent recently, Seamus Coleman, who's been very solid recently. We had a lot of key players out injured. We had Alan, who wasn't available to start because obviously he played on Monday for 90 minutes. We had Decore, it's evident he needs a rest. So look, it was a massive win yesterday, but I agree. I hope Tom is fit for Chelsea, because I think his energy in the midfield could be vital, certainly away from home against them. Everton Blues says, hey Cam, love the vids. In my opinion, don't know if you agree, but the game changed when Alan come on. I told my friend the goal scoring and confident Richie is dangerous. Up the league we go. Yeah, spot on. I think the game did change when Alan come on, to be honest. I think the game changed when we changed system. I think the game changed when Gylfi Sigurdsson come on, as it showed 45 seconds into him being on the pitch. He assisted the only goal of the game. So we will go on to talking about the substitutions and the changing system in a moment. Keeper Boy says, hi, I got my new braces today. It was a big win. It certainly was, mate. I've never had braces, so I I can't really relate to you there, mate, but I hopefully they don't hurt too much. Liam says, I know Carlo wants 3 players, and one of them he says will be Olsen. If that's the case, and we only got 2 outfield players, I'd be happy with a right back, Aarons, and a 2-footed winger. We're on the up, lad. We certainly are, mate. Luke says it can never be comfortable. Yeah, it never is comfortable watching Everton, mate. It never is. I said it yesterday. It's you know, it's never easy watching Everton. It really, really isn't. But look, I'd take those never easy games and getting 3 points at the end of them over comfortable games and we don't win, or we end up only taking a point. As long as we're winning games of football, at the end of the day, the way in which we play, we're sort of have to going to accept. I've never understood this sort of, and I'm not saying Evertonians have this mentality, but I've never understood this mentality within football fans that's like, oh yeah, we win but we play awful football. I think some Man United fans had it under Mourinho when they were like, yeah, we won the Europa League and we come second in the league, but the football was boring and it was horrible to watch and it was negative and it was defensive and this, that, the other. Are you mad? You've won a European competition and you finished second in the league, second only to a side that nobody can compete with, and you're moaning because the football isn't good enough. If Everton go on and win the FA Cup this season and finish in the top 4 and we play that type of football every game where we're boring and we're, it's not very entertaining and there's not much going forward, but we're still winning games of football and we're winning titles at the end of it and we're getting in, the top 4, I don't give a shit how we play, as long as we carry on winning. And if we finish in a European position at the end of the season, specifically a Champions League position, and dare I say it, win a trophy like United did in that season when their fans were moaning, the last thing I'll be doing is going, yeah, but we don't play very good football, do we? It's quite frustrating. We are a little bit defensive. We do sit back. No, I won't. Yet we can bring all of those points into into the argument if you start losing games and if you're not winning and if you're falling down the table and if you're not getting points. Yeah, that's absolutely fair enough, and I understand that. We're sitting here today and it's not the most exciting review in the world, as it wasn't on Tuesday after the Southampton game, but at the end of the day, all that matters is we're sitting here talking about a win. We're sitting here talking about another 3 points. We're sitting here talking about Carlo Ancelotti's Toffees, who moved to 4th in the league yesterday. Okay, we've dropped to 5th now because of the Chelsea game, but we play Chelsea on Monday. If we play boring football again and beat them, then we go 4th because we've beaten the side that were above us in 4th. It's March. There's 2 months left of the season and we're fighting for the top 4. I don't give a shit how bad we play, as long as we carry on winning games of football. Yes, it's not great. Yes, it's not entertaining. Yes, I'd prefer it to be at the start of the season when we were scoring 3 or 4 goals a game, but ultimately you've got to do what you've got to do to win, and at the moment, Everton are winning. 3 games on the bounce, 3 clean sheets. I've got nothing to moan about in that way. Again, it's not very entertaining, and it's not comfortable, as Luke said. It's not comfortable, but as long as we're winning games, I don't know why we can be, why we can't be positive. Jason says, hi Cam, hope you are well. A good result last night, then Liverpool lost. Happy days is right. James said, realistically, where do you think we will finish, Cam? I think realistically maybe 5th, 6th. Look, listen. Ask me that question after the Chelsea game. I think me belief, if we beat Chelsea, I think me belief will go through the window. It really, really will. I think I'll probably be sitting here on Tuesday morning doing the live stream to the Chelsea game. And if we do beat them, I'll be absolutely over the moon. Luke says I wasn't complaining about the performance, by the way. Thought I would say that. No, 100%, Luke. I understand. I'm not going at you. I'm with you in saying it's never comfortable. It never is comfortable. But it's sort of football fans, and it's not so much Everton fans, because we all know we're in a fight for Champions League, and that's as good, as even playing bad football. It's certain fans that seem to have this mentality that if you don't play good football, then it's not worth watching, even if you are winning games, which I think is mental to me. And on the Liverpool comments as well, by the way, we'll get into about the second half in a moment. On the Liverpool comments, how refreshing is it? And look, football rivalry is football rivalry, and we all know that if Liverpool lose, we have a little bit of a laugh at them, and, especially when Everton win. Bloody hell, I can't remember a season where we've played, never felt more like singing the blues more times than this season. We're playing it every week now. It's every week. You may as well just have the song on repeat, mate. It's every week we're playing it, because we're winning every week and they're losing every week. But how refreshing is it to look at a Liverpool result and not be happy because they've lost because it's Liverpool and it's your local rivals, but be happy that they've lost because we're fighting with them for a European position. I wasn't happy that Liverpool lost yesterday because they're our local... Well, I was, because I never want to see them win and they're our local rivals, etc. But I wasn't only happy because, Liverpool have lost again, because you know, I found it very sort of, it was very difficult for me in the last couple of seasons when Liverpool would lose on the odd occasion and we'd all be made up. But realistically, and Tom T-Logic 1991 has spoke heavily about this on a couple of our live streams, you know, in the previous season, certainly the last couple of seasons, it was, you know, when Liverpool lost, we'd all sit there, we'd all take the piss, we'd all have a laugh. But realistically, we'd all sit back, you know, later on in the night or a couple of hours later and go, yeah, but they're 45 points ahead of us. So they might have lost the game, but, you know, they're 40, 30 points ahead of us and they're fighting for the Champions League and we're fighting for, you know, 8th, 9th. We're fighting for maybe a Europa League place at best. So, all right, it's you know, it's good that they've lost and we can laugh at them, but realistically, they're you know, much further ahead than we are. How refreshing is it to be able to look at a Liverpool result, for example, and you know, go, yes, get in, they've lost, and not say, yes, get in, they've lost because they're our local rivals and we don't like them, but say, yes, get in, they've lost because we're in and around them in the league, and them losing means that we can take an advantage on them and we can go further above them. We're above Liverpool in the league at the moment. You know, and again, taking away Liverpool and the local rivalry and us hating Liverpool and this, that and the other, we are above the side that walked the league comfortably last season and finished 50 points above Everton. So what I'm saying is, whereas last season they might have lost the odd game and we could sit back and go, you know, they've lost, but realistically we'd all go, yeah, but they're 50 points ahead of us still and they're going to win the league. Now we can say, they've lost and we're above them and we're fighting with them for European football and we've got that chance to, you know, to go further above them if we win our game in hand. And forget the fact that you're local rivals, forget the fact it's Liverpool. That's the side that won the league and finished 50 points above Everton last season. We're now above them in March, fighting for the Champions League position. That is what is you know, that's what makes me so happy about, you know, the being above Liverpool. It's not so much that Liverpool are losing and they're our local rivals. It's the fact that we are, you know, we've matched them. We've completely just knocked that 50-point gap out the park, mate. We've literally seen it, and it's like Ben Godfrey's just gone 50-point gap, mad, aren't you? And he slide tackled it into Rose Ed, and that is what is another unbelievable positive of this season. CJ says, didn't want UEFA Europa League at the start of the season, but now I've realised we have to take it as an improvement on last season, and that's all we can do on each season is improve. Spot on, CJ. Look, if we finish in the Europa League, it's an improvement. It is. It's a step forward. It's an improvement on last season, and I think we'd all take it. Like I said, Champions League would be unbelievable, not only for the fact that we'd be playing in the Champions League, but also for the fact that the players that could attract with Carlo Ancelotti managing, you know, Everton in the Champions League, it'd be mad. Lewis says, hello, Cam, hi, mate. Luke says, I thought West Brom would go for it because Allardyce wanted to beat us to prove a point. They did go for it, mate. They did, certainly in that first half. Jason says, I'd also like West Ham to qualify for Europe as get fed up with the big so-called teams taking Europe for certain. Thomas says, if we had Hammers, we would have won the game 3-0. I think we'd have been a lot more creative if we'd have had Hammers, I agree. Eden said, would you take top 4 or win the FA Cup? I'd take winning the FA Cup, mate, to be honest with you. I know some people might say, no, you've got to look for that. And I know Carlo said, you know, he'd probably rather have top 4 for the future of the club and the longevity, but I've never seen Everton win a trophy. And if Everton win a trophy this season, even if we don't finish in the top 4, then this team, as if they're not heroes already for beating Liverpool and Anfield, they'd be heroes forever. They'd be engraved in the history of Everton Football Club. And for all, his top 4 would be great, and it would be great. And I'm not saying if we finished top 4, we wouldn't have a great season next season, but there's all the possibility that we could finish 4th this season and then next season have a dreadful season in the league and get knocked out in the Champions League in the group stages. And then realistically, your top 4 finish is void then. It doesn't really matter much. Whereas if you win the FA Cup, that's a part of your history. So for me, it's winning the FA Cup. Let us know your thoughts on that in the comments, by the way, Cup or finishing in the top 4. Liam says, I know he didn't have his best games in the blue shirt, but the Corey's a proper piston in midfield. He cuts off so many angles for the opponent to make a pass. He spots their danger pass so well and so sharp. I agree. Luke says, I think I'm the minority who thought Bernard was poor, but we missed the creator in the midfield like Sigurdsson or Hammers. I thought Bernard had an alright game, to be honest. Didn't do much. I thought he was alright. Liam says, Eugene, FA Cup all day. I think just nice to be a positive debate about the Blues in it. It is, Liam. You're spot on, mate. It's absolutely brilliant to be positive, and it's brilliant to be able to sit here and talk about the potential of winning an FA Cup and or finishing in the Champions League in March. Because let's be honest, however many of the last, since maybe Roberto Martinez's first season, I think Everton's season's finished in January for me. Usually January, maybe February at a push is the point where you start to think, yeah, this is over now. We're just going through the motions now. It's just game after game. We're not in any cup competitions. Realistically, we're not going to finish in a Champions League place. We might push for the European place, but even that's a step. So we're just going through the motions at the moment. How nice is it to be sitting here in March with a Champions League fight on our hands and, a definite European fight on our hands, if not a definite Champions League fight on our hands, certainly if we beat Chelsea on Monday, and an FA Cup quarter-final, albeit against the best team on the land, but regardless of that, we're in March, and we're in a fight for Europe, and we're in a quarter-final of an FA Cup. It's amazing that I can't recall the amount of seasons gone by. If you go back and look at, March last season, I know obviously March last season we had the lockdown and obviously football was suspended, but if you go back on the channel and look at some of the live streams from this point last season, or even this point 2 seasons ago in Silver's first season, we'd probably be sitting here going, yeah, season's over, not in any of the cups, just going through the motions, what it is what it is. Whereas now we're sitting here with genuine ambition, and that's what Carlo Ancelotti has brought to this club. Anyway, that's a nice way to lead into the positives of the second half. Everton needed to change something in the second half last night. We absolutely needed to change something. It wasn't working. I wouldn't say we were being overrun because I think we had more possession. I wouldn't say West Brom were, particularly threatening us massively going forward, but they certainly had chances. They certainly had time with the ball. They certainly had space. They were certainly coming forward. They were certainly, giving us a little bit of a run for our money, and ultimately, that was difficult for Everton to deal with. It really, really was difficult for Everton to deal with because, West Brom were a side that we all sort of thought would sit back and ultimately just defend, and they didn't. They didn't sit back whatsoever. They come forward and they attacked us and they surprised us. And like I said, that first half was so reminiscent of, your Fulhams and your Newcastles, etc. But the second half, we changed it, and Carlo Ancelotti changed it. I think it was the 56th minute or something. It was only 10 or 15 minutes into the second half when he decided to bring on Alan for Alex Iwobi. Don't think it was particularly a bad substitution. I wouldn't have preferred, but I'd have assumed it would have been Andre Gomez going off instead because it was more like for like. But look, Alex Iwobi didn't do anything in the game yesterday, and it's disappointing for the likes of Iwobi, and it's frustrating because, realistically, you look at the likes of Iwobi and you think those are the games that you have to impress in. Those are the games that you have to go out and you have to show to Carlo Ancelotti that you're good enough to be part of his team, that you can start games, that even against the worst teams in the league, you can turn up and perform, and he didn't perform yesterday. And I don't necessarily think you should write Alex Iwobi off and that's the end of Alex Iwobi's career, etc, etc. I just think he's a little bit lacking in confidence at the moment, and he didn't have a great game yesterday. So we make way for Alan. If you're enjoying, by the way, so far, please do hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new as well. Share the stream on social media, try and get as many people in here as possible. Big thanks to everybody in the live comments. We will get back in the comments shortly. If you're watching a YouTube video, leave your thoughts in the comment section down below. But Alan comes on and the game completely changes then from that point on. Not just Alan, playing in his natural position in front of that back line and being as good as we know Alan is. I mean, this lad spent 2 or 3 months out injured with a hamstring injury, and he come back against Southampton and he looked very, very, very good. Okay, passing maybe was a little bit off the boil, but that's expected for a lad who hasn't played in 2 or 3 months, and he come on yesterday and he just completely, he calmed everything down, didn't he? He sat in front of that back line, he didn't make any issues passing wise, he done everything he needed to do, he picked the ball up when he needed to, he intercepted it when he needed to, and he also allowed a change of system, and that for me is equally as important as Alan coming on was a massive, massive change yesterday because, I think he obviously his ability as a footballer was much, much needed in that game. But Alan coming on and allowing that change of system was massive for Everton yesterday. Absolutely massive, because as soon as we changed the system, as soon as Andre Gomez was pushed up a little bit more, as soon as we brought the likes of Sigurdsson on, we just looked a lot more comfortable. We still didn't look unbelievable. I'm not going to say the second half was absolutely excellent and it was extravagant and we were brilliant and we were this, that, the other, but we were a lot more comfortable and we looked a lot more solid. And how boss is it, by the way, to see Alan playing footy for Everton with old school Predators on, with his shirt tucked in, just looking like an absolute powerhouse in the middle of the park. He looks like I would not want to come up in a midfield battle against Alan, put it that way. He looks like an absolute beast in the middle of that park, and he was excellent. And like I said, he come on and he allowed a change of system for Everton. And all of a sudden, the first half where, Richarlison was very, very isolated, didn't have many touches of the ball whatsoever. Dominic Calvert-Lewin was, again, struggling to get in the game. There was points in the first half where Dominic Calvert-Lewin was dropping into Alan's role in order to just pick the ball up and get a touch on it. Bernard was doing that at times as well yesterday. How refreshing was it to see Alan come on? And it's almost like he'd gone, right, I'll sit here now. I'll sit in front of the defence. I'll worry about everything that's going on here. You all go forward and focus on creating and focus on winning this game. And that's exactly what we did. Like I said, everything shored up a little bit. The system changed. Gomez was allowed to be played further forward, and I thought he played a lot better in the second half than he did in the first half, albeit he couldn't have been much worse, to be honest. I think the first half he was atrocious, to be honest, but he wasn't playing in that role in the second half where if he gave the ball away, we were under massive pressure. If Gomez gave the ball away in the second half, it wasn't too big of a deal because you had you had Alan behind him, you had Bernard who was tacking back at times, you had other players who were getting back before the ball got to the defence. In the first half, if Gomez gave the ball away, it was straight on the defender's heels and there was balls coming into the box. And then, like I said, Carlo makes a second change, Gylfi Sigurdsson comes on the pitch, and for me, this game was screaming out for Gylfi Sigurdsson, absolutely screaming out. And I think Gylfi Sigurdsson falls into the category of Jordan Pickford, to be honest, in an Everton player who, no matter what you think of him, no matter whether you like him, whether you think he's had a good season, whether you think he's had a bad season, whether you think he's effective or not, you simply cannot avoid credit for him at the moment, because again, I think he's got 13, 14 goal contributions this season, maybe even more, 15 or 16. He assisted the goal for this in the Southampton game on Monday, and he was on the pitch for 45 seconds yesterday. He takes the corner, I think that's his first action of the game. Okay, it's not the greatest of corners, it's headed back out by Michael Keane. But when you've got a ball that's rolling, if you were to say to me, Cam, a ball's coming out to an Everton player, you've got Richarlison, Calvert-Lewin, Keane, Godfrey, Holgate in the area, and the ball is coming out to an Everton player on the edge of the box. Who do you want that player to be? There'd be three players for me: Luca Dean, Gylfi Sigurdsson, and James Rodriguez. And it'd probably go James, Gylfi and Dean, because I think when Dean puts an excellent ball in, he puts an unbelievable ball in, but sometimes, and we've seen it yesterday, he can sort of misplace those crosses in. James Rodriguez is exceptional every time he puts a ball in and hits somebody on the head. Gylfi Sigurdsson deserves a lot of credit, because that cross is weighted perfectly, absolutely perfectly, and the lad had been on for 45 seconds, and that bit of creativity, that little bit of magic that we all know we needed to win that game yesterday was there. He puts an excellent ball in, Richarlison jumps, and again, Richarlison is the hero. Another goal, 4 goals in 4 for him in the Premier League, 6 in 5 I think in all competitions. Obviously got 2 against Tottenham. I suppose you could call it the winner at Anfield. I know we scored a second and it was Gylfi Sigurdsson who scored the penalty, but again, that early goal was so important in Anfield. The winner within the opening 10 minutes on Monday night against Southampton, and the winner last night. He's in the right place at the right time, and he deserved that goal, Richarlison, because I think he worked extremely hard yesterday. I think he battled off the ball, he won the ball well, he won fouls in dangerous areas, he wasn't giving it away comfortably. There was times in the game when Iwobi and Decore and Iwobi and Decore and Gomez were giving the ball away, too easily in that middle of the park. Richarlison wasn't. He rises like an absolute salmon, he heads it in the back of the net, and you're thinking, yes, get in, 1-0. Hopefully that's game, set and match now. Go out and comfortably win the game. See it out. Maybe go out and get another couple of goals. But my point is, the change of system, and we've criticised Carlo Ancelotti an awful lot this season. We all have. Every single Evertonian has criticised Carlo Ancelotti for, his substitutions at times, the change in systems at times, the fact that certain times he's brought on players that haven't worked. Yesterday his substitutions were perfect. He didn't make one bad substitution yesterday, not one bad substitution. Alan come on and changed the game, and obviously the system changed and he was excellent, and Sigurdsson come on and provided that creativity that was desperately needed, because if there was one thing that was evident in that first half, is that when we had the time with the ball and when we had space, attacking West Brom, we just didn't have any creativity. We didn't have anybody that could put the foot on the ball and put an excellent ball into the box. We didn't have anybody that could, give Dominic Calvert-Lewin a chance, give Richarlison a chance, run at players, and Gylfi Sigurdsson ultimately, if it's not James, it's Gylfi Sigurdsson who's that player in the midfield, and like I said, I think he deserves an awful lot of credit. I'm not saying we all have to love him, I'm not saying, he needs another 3-year contract. What I'm saying is, this season, he's had a much better season than he did last season, and he's getting involved now, he's getting assists, he's getting goals, he looks a lot more confident, and I actually... Look, I'm going to put a controversial opinion out here. I don't mind Gylfi Sigurdsson playing in this Everton team. I don't mind Gylfi Sigurdsson starting in this Everton team as long as he starts in his right position. If you were to say to me, Cam, right, Gylfi Sigurdsson starts in the Alan role, I'd say no. I don't want it to happen. In the same way as that I don't want Andre Gomez playing in the Alan role, because neither can play that role. The only players I want to play in the Alan role are Alan himself, because he does it better than anybody, Tom Davies, and maybe at a push Abdoulaye Doucouré if there's no other option, because I think Abdoulaye Doucouré can do a decent job in there. But other than Tom Davies and Alan, nobody can play that role. I don't want to see Sigurdsson in there. I don't want to see Gomez in there. But if you were to say to me, right, Sigurdsson starts, Cam, and he plays as a number 10, or he's that midfielder in the middle of the park with a lot of space and a lot of time to play balls across and a lot of room in front of him to create, then I absolutely want him starting. If it's not James, it's Gylfi for me, because he has got that magic, he's got that creativity, he's got that ball. Look at the ball for Bernard in the FA Cup, excellent pass. For Richarlison against Southampton, brilliant. For Richarlison again last night, excellent. I think he's been very good in that position this season. The time that he hasn't played so well is when he's been asked to do his defensive duties, and he just can't do it. But again, he deserves a lot of credit yesterday. We go 1-0 up, excellent header by Richarlison, absolutely excellent again. That lad is I just love that lad so much. Honestly, I can't even begin to describe the emotion I have for Richarlison. I absolutely promised myself after Ross Barkley there wouldn't be another Everton player who I loved. I wouldn't let another Everton player break my heart, because Ross Barkley broke my heart. I loved that lad. I thought he was the best thing since sliced bread. He was a born Scouser, he was an Evertonian, and he broke my heart when he left Everton. And I said to myself as a young lad, as soon as Ross Barkley left, I will not love another Everton player. I'll like Everton players, I'll support Everton players, I'll be behind Everton players, I'll be made up when we do well, but I'll never have that emotional connection with another Everton player. And I think I've let myself have that emotional connection with Richarlison, to be honest. I just love the lad. He's Everton personified, isn't he? He works hard, he battles, he's a great goal scorer. This was a lad who 3 or 4 weeks ago couldn't buy a goal. Now he scored 4 in 4, and he's our clinical finisher. He's the Richarlison that he was last season. He's the Richarlison that he was towards the back end of last season, where, in those last 9 games of the season, I don't think Dominic Calvert-Lewin scored once. And if it wasn't for Richarlison, we could have lost all 9. He scored against Southampton, I think. He scored, against Leicester. He scored a number of times in that last sort of 9 games of last season to get us points and to win us games and to ultimately keep us in the fight for Europe. I know we didn't finish in Europe, but to keep us in that fight. And again, he's coming into that sort of form again now, where he's getting goals that win us games. Without him, we wouldn't have beat Southampton, we wouldn't have beat West Brom yesterday, but he's the difference maker. And when Dom isn't in great form, you need Richarlison in great form, and he is in great form at the moment. And like I said, I love him. It's another excellent header. He rises above everybody, nods it into the back of the net, and ultimately we go on and we win the game and we see it out. And again, like I said, the second half wasn't unbelievable, it wasn't amazing, it wasn't brilliant to watch necessarily, certainly after the goal, but it was comfortable. It was a lot more comfortable. We weren't letting them get forward anywhere near as much. We were still a little bit sloppy on the ball, and I think that's why Doucouré was brought off ultimately, to give him a bit of a rest ahead of the Chelsea game on Monday, as well as to sort of give him the rest because he needs it. But ultimately, it was quite comfortable for the remainder. The system change meant we were more comfortable. Alan was playing in his natural role. Gomez seemed a lot better. Obviously, Sigurdsson had come on and done what he needed to do. Richarlison had got his goal. Dom, I think, seemed a little bit frustrated, to be honest with you. I think he seemed a little bit frustrated. I think there was times at the end of the game where he just maybe again, he looked a little bit annoyed with himself. And again, he didn't have as great as the games yesterday, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, to be fair. But again, he worked hard. He helped the team with his work rate. And Dom will come into form like Richarlison is at the moment. And Dom will start winning games of football for us before the end of the season as well. Don't worry about that. And the back line, I thought, were very, very solid. Like I said, barring that first half, I thought Mason Holgate was a little bit suspect in that first half. Certainly in that first opening 15-20 minutes. But barring that, Michael Keane, done his job brilliantly, didn't really have much to do, but done it really well. Ben Godfrey, again, is just a 10 out of 10. That lad is just exceptional. And Luca Dean, I thought, was very good defensively as well. We will go on to talk about the little scare at the end of the game, the VAR, in a moment. But let's get back in the live comments before we do that. Jason says, I think top 4 and a cup will be hard, as if we make the FA Cup final, we would need to play another 2 midweek rearranged games. Yeah, listen, I'm not saying that I think that'll happen, that we'll win the FA Cup and finish in the Champions League. But if I had an option... Sorry, which would I prefer, winning the FA Cup or finishing in the top 4? I'd pick winning the FA Cup. For me, I would. Where are we then? Sean, what's happening, Sean? He says, yes, gangster. Yes, Sean. Jason says, top 4 for me. I'd love to reach Champions League. Fair enough. Luke says, I'd love the FA Cup, but that means we'd have to get through Man City. Yeah, it would. But if we can get through Man City, then, again, confidence is through the roof, because they are... let's be honest, the best team in the country. Jason says, but in some ways, just being above Liverpool feels good. Well, it feels good for multiple different reasons. It feels good because there are local rivals, and, obviously it's great to be above your local rivals, and you've got bragging rights, and etc, etc, like we did 2 weeks ago when we beat them at their ground. But it's also great because they're... the reigning champions. They're the side that finished 50 points ahead of us last season. They're the side who nobody could beat last season, and we're, above them on points, which ultimately feels excellent as well. Liam says, can you imagine the Goodison roar when Godfrey is carrying the ball 70 to 80 yards towards a seat ending under the lights in the Champions League? Mate, I just can't. I don't know if I could cope with that, mate. I think my head would completely fall off. 1878 DST, what's happening, mate? Nice to see you in. He says, yes, Cam. Just having a shite in work, listening to the Mighty Blues. Going to leave a big Liverpool badge on the back of the panel. He is right, mate. He's right. Love it. Sombrero says 3-1-4-2 with the ball is right. It was difficult at times, certainly formation. And style, but as soon as Alan come on and the system changed, I think we looked a lot more comfortable, and that just shows me that for the Chelsea game, Alan starts and we go with that system from the off. Liam says, the ST, what a guy. Dave says, never felt more like singing the blues. Liam says, when Everton win, and Luke says, and Liverpool lose, is right. 1878 says, yes, Liam. Liam says, cop right hard. The ST says, what's going on? What's going down? This, you in work. I'm not in work at the moment, mate. I'm not. I've got loads more time to do content. Everton now says, yes, Cam, how you doing, mate? I'm all good, mate. I'm all good. Thank you very much. Semi says, greeting fellow Blues is right, Semi. Big thanks for joining us. Lewis says, a great live stream, Cam. Cheers, mate. Semi says, hard watch, but we got the results spot on. Exactly, mate. Luke says, I wasn't complaining about the performance. I know, mate. Liam says, you're spot on, Cam. It's about winning games, lad. Playing well or not winning playing well and not winning gets you nowhere. Exactly, mate. Exactly. Everton now says, agreed, Cam. When we play, I never felt more like singing the blues. It's actually meaning something in the long time. Something in the long run. Exactly, mate. Exactly. It's it's showing that how far we've come this season, and Carlo Ancelotti has done an exceptional job, mate. Carlo Ancelotti has done a better job than any manager I've seen in a long time, Everton or not Everton. This fella has taken Everton from a mid-table, mediocre side that haven't really got any ambition and aren't really doing much, and again are finishing 10th and 11th and 12th to a side that are, not only fighting for the Champions League position, but are in a quarter-final of an FA Cup, and are beating sides like Liverpool away and Tottenham away and Leicester away and Arsenal and Chelsea at home. Carlo Ancelotti, make no mistake, has made Everton into challenging for Europe, for maybe league titles in years to come, but he's made Everton a challenger. We're no longer that team that everyone goes, yeah, Everton, you don't have to worry about Everton. Everton will fall off. We're the team that everyone goes, you have to have a little look at Everton, actually, because not only are they, fifth in the league, a couple of points off fourth, but they've beaten Liverpool away, they've beaten Leicester away, they've beaten Tottenham away, they're winning good games of football, they're winning the easy games. Okay, it mightn't be comfortable, but they're still winning them. So Carlo Ancelotti is the reason for that, and I can't thank the man enough because he's been excellent. Liam says, Cam, if we win our game in hand, mate, we are one win away from being second if Leicester United lose their next match. Exactly, mate. Eddie says, high score prediction for Man United, Man City. I think City will beat them comfortably, to be honest. I'm not seeing the hype in United. Liam says, March is usually flip-flop time at Finch Farm. Exactly. Everton Blue says, Cam, just imagine if we get Champions League and Ben Godfrey scores an overhead kick and we win it with Ancelotti at the helm. What would you do? I don't know. I don't know, mate, to be honest with you. I really don't know. I can't even fathom that. I haven't got the brain capacity to fathom that at the moment. Eddie says, I'm not used to seeing Alan Paul. I think he looks a monster, mate. James says, don't think we've got the mentality for top 4, to be honest. Well, it's interesting you should say that because, again, I think mentality comes into question when you're talking about games like yesterday and the Southampton game, whereas usually, in seasons prior with our, mentality in seasons prior, probably wouldn't have won the game against Southampton, probably wouldn't have beat West Brom, because, our mentality wouldn't have been to go out and win it. It'd have been, this will be comfortable, like it has been at times this season, and we'd have lost, but we've grinded out those results, so it'll be interesting to see. Semi says Alan's a pit bull in the middle of the park, does the dirty work, relishes it, your spot on. James says we need the right winger, and Luke says keep up the great work, mate. Cheers, Luke. Says great win. Sigurdsson, whether you like him or not, has that quality which teams like West Ham and Villa don't, in the sense of depth, apart from Fornals and Grealish. Fair enough. And Luke says James we've been linked with. I can't even pronounce that name, from Stuttgart, who's been really good this season. I think it's 14 goals and assists in 22 games. There you go. Is right. But yeah, look, obviously, again, we held out in the end. Like I said, West Brom had that scare towards the back end of the game where they had the VAR goal, which was rightly ruled offside. I know TalkSport put a tweet out last night trying to engage in some form of silly debate and try and make everybody think it wasn't offside by putting up an angle which was just a nonsense angle, but it was comfortably offside, and it was a scare because he was only about a toenail offside, but it was still clearly offside. But we saw the game out and we won it, and ultimately that's all that matters. Like I said, yesterday wasn't great by any stretch of the imagination. It wasn't comfortable, it wasn't enjoyable, it wasn't exciting, it wasn't perfect, but we got the win. 3 clean sheets out of 3 for Jordan Pickford, and in every one of those 3 games, it's not like we're saying 3 clean sheets out of 3 for Jordan and he hasn't had to do much. In every one of those 3 games and 3 clean sheets, he saved us with saves. Let's be honest, he saved us against Liverpool with the Salah save, the Henderson save, multiple saves. He saved us with the Vestergaard save against Southampton on Monday, and he saved us with the headed save early on in the game yesterday. So he deserves those 3 clean sheets. He's been excellent. Gylfi Sigurdsson again, 2nd assist in a week, excellent ball in. Richarlison, 4 goals in 4, 6 in 5, absolutely unbelievable performance by Richarlison, and ultimately an absolutely excellent, or 6 in 6 I think it is, an absolutely excellent performance again in terms of working hard, winning the ball, keeping the ball, not giving it away, and scoring the winning goal, being that man in the right place at the right time, finishing brilliantly and scoring the winning goal. And yet, look, like I said before, if you'd have said to me this time last year, in fact, scrap that, if you'd have said to me in September August, when the season had finished and we'd being 3-0 down against Blackpool in the opening 20 minutes and crawled it back to draw 3-3 in our first pre-season game, if you'd have said to me in March you'll be challenging for the Champions League in an FA Cup quarter-final and you'd have beaten Liverpool at Anfield, Tottenham away from home, Leicester away from home, you'll have been beating the easy sides, okay, it mightn't be comfortable but you're still winning, I'd have said you're having a laugh, mate, whatever you're smoking, you need to lay off it because you're having a massive laugh. But here we are in March, and it's down to those players who have belief in themselves and I think do have that mentality to get through those types of games where we mightn't necessarily be playing well. And like I said, it's the title of this live stream and it's vitally important. Those are the games you have to win. You will never, ever go a season, where you will play exceptionally in every game and you'll win every game brilliantly. There will even teams that win the league, there will always be games where you're absolutely awful and you've just got to win, and that was yesterday for me. We weren't great whatsoever. I wouldn't say we were absolutely awful, but we weren't great whatsoever. It was a struggle, it was frustrating, but we had to win, and we did win. And for me, that's what's most important, and the turnaround, as Semi says, fantastic turnaround for this club already, and Don Carlo is just getting started. The turnaround in the last 12 months for Everton has been unfathomable for me. Carlo Ancelotti is a magician. Carlo Ancelotti went to Hogwarts. Let's not get it twisted. Carlo Ancelotti went to Hogwarts. He is a magician, mate, because the difference he has made in our football club in just over 12 months is absolutely, it blows my mind. Yes, the football at times mightn't be great, but Carlo Ancelotti doesn't care about how well we play football. He's not caring about the tiki-taka or how brilliant we are on the eye or how great it is for an Aston Villa fan to watch us on a Tuesday night. He doesn't give a shit about that. All he cares about is the fact that we're winning games, and we need to get on board with that as well. And that's what I mean. Obviously, we do these reviews, and I'm not going to sit here and go, oh, the first half was absolutely excellent. We were boss. We weren't. So sometimes you do have to be a little bit negative if you like. I don't think I've been negative. I've just described the performance. But ultimately, I don't care because we've won the game. And at the end of the season, if we finish fourth, like I said earlier on this team, none of us, whether it be James, whether it be Matty, whether it be Richie, whether it be Luke, whether it be Semi, whether it be Frank, whether it be Joe, whether it be James Rodriguez, the player, and the guy in the comments, whether it be Luke, whether it be anybody, Everton Blues, whether it be Everton now, whether it be Liam, whether it be Dave, whether it be Phil, whether it be 1878 yesterday, nobody will be sitting there at the end of the season if we finish fourth going, yeah, but we were shit against West Brom. And we weren't that good against Southampton. And when you actually look at it, we weren't great against Chelsea at home. We'll be sitting there going, beat Southampton, beat West Brom, beat Chelsea at home, beat Liverpool away, beat Tottenham away, and we've finished fourth. And I love that by Carlo. I absolutely love that because he isn't specifically focused this season on how nice we play football, because he knows that he has to get the absolute best out of this group of players, and the absolute best may just be grinding games out and winning games in that type of way. Ultimately, that's what we're doing, and the 3 points is all that matters at the end of it. I said at the start of the week, this is a massive, massive, massive week in the context of this season and where we finish at the end of this season, and we've taken 6 points out of 6 so far. If we beat Chelsea, then get ready for the celebration on Tuesday morning on the live stream, because it certainly will be. Another excellent win. Not an unbelievable performance, but an excellent win, and ultimately, like I said, we're in a fight for top 4, which is mad to say, and Carlo Ancelotti and those players are the reason for that, and it's exceptional. It really, really is. James says, imagine where we would be if we didn't lose them stupid games. Hammers is doing my head in. I think the Corey is worn out. Yeah, I think again, not only are we winning these games, we're winning these games without some of our best players. We're winning these games with injuries. We're winning these games with fitness issues. We're winning these games with players who are struggling at the moment. And again, that just adds to how good these wins are. James Rodriguez says, where do you think we'll finish? Again, it's difficult to say. Listen, if we beat Chelsea, I'll say fourth. But there's a long way to go still. Matty says, does winning the FA Cup get us into the Champions League? No, it gets us in the Europa League, I think. Depending on actually where everybody else finishes in the league, I'm not too sure. Richie says, can only put yourselves in the picture. Others slipping up, scraping away. Don't have to be pretty. Points mean prizes. How many injuries? How are injuries looking for coming weeks? Exactly, mate. Exactly, Richie. In terms of injuries, we don't know yet. I'm not sure whether Carlo will have a press conference today ahead of Chelsea, obviously, because it's on Monday and it's Friday today. I don't know whether he'll just do a little article with Everton. Again, we'll wait and see on that one. Luke says, I think it was Sky Sports after the Southampton game that said that Ancelotti is just over a 50% win rate with Everton, which is the best percentage for an Everton manager. Exactly. Joe says, we've sat through the Marco Silva era, the least we deserve right now. Spot on, mate. Frank says, I know it was not a good watch, performance, terrific of anything to watch, but we're finally winning these games. Exactly, mate, and nobody can complain at that. Semi says, fantastic turnaround. Spot on. Matty says, you're a wizard, Carlo. Semi says he was thinking the same thing, and Nigel says, every game is massive until the end of the season. Couldn't agree more, mate. Absolutely couldn't agree more. Anyway, we'll finish it there then. Look, if you have enjoyed the live stream, please do hit that like button. A massive thank you for everybody in the live comments for joining us. Really do appreciate it. If you have enjoyed this one, please do hit that like button. It does only take a second. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe as well. Share the stream, try and get as many people involved with the videos as we possibly can. Massive thanks for all the support. I think we're 4 subscribers away from 3,600, so if you could subscribe, or if you've already subscribed, massive thanks. If you could share this channel to your mates, your family, your dog, your cat, anybody, to get them involved, that would mean a great deal to me. Don't forget to check out the Football News 365 app as well, using the link in the description. You can download it through that link on iOS, Android, etc. It keeps you up to date with all your latest Everton news, scores, stats, predictions, all of that good stuff. So don't forget to check out that app in the description. Run by a Blue as well, who's a fantastic guy. Everton Blues says, Alan is outstanding. I just want to give him a hug. He's class. What are your thoughts on him? Spot on, mate. Couldn't agree more. They are my thoughts exactly. Matt says, if you want to hear a Liverpool fan have a meltdown, listen to my podcast, The Week in Football, great team cam. Cheers, Matt. I'll have a listen to that. Cheers, Matt. Really appreciate that. Mama says too late. Matty says thanks for the content, mate. Thank you very much, mate. Really appreciate that, Matty. Semi says thanks, Cam. Take care, Blues. You too, Semi. And Mama says Chelsea's in the top 4 now. Yeah, they are, but again, that makes Monday a massive game, because Monday now is a fight for top 4. It is, and it won't be seen as that when it's on BT or Sky when they're talking about it. It won't be seen as a fight for top 4. It'll just be, oh, Chelsea who are fighting for the top 4 play Everton who are doing all right this season. But Monday is a 6-pointer in the race for top 4 for me. And listen, if we can get a point, I'll be happy. If we can win, I'll be absolutely ecstatic. Massive thank you for watching. If you've enjoyed this one, please do leave a like. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new. Massive thanks to everybody in the live comments. If you're watching as a YouTube video, leave your comments in the comment section and we'll get involved with as many of them. Big thanks, and we'll see you soon on the Mighty Blues.